Windhager, Wood, inside 50. Wanganeen Miller! What a mark!
G'day and welcome to the GameDay Squad Aussie Rules Fantasy Show. I'm Haz, and joining me to cover everything Aussie Rules this season is Pitty, and together we are the Fantasy Bros. We've partnered with GameDay Squad to bring you everything you need to know to succeed in this season's Aussie Rules competition. Pitty, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. Excited to be here. Been a long pre-season, as we've mentioned a couple of times, and yeah, a few exciting things that have been happening recently in our space in particular, which we'll no doubt talk about soon. But yeah, very excited, especially with opening round closing very, very quickly. How are you, mate?
Yeah, really good. Like you said, it's been a busy couple of weeks. Obviously, we probably haven't recorded for probably 2 weeks now, but that 2 weeks has been spent doing a lot of things behind the scenes, and obviously that it come out today across our Discord and our socials with the release of that textbook. But I know, like you said, no doubt we'll talk about that in a little bit time. But before we get into that, we're going to continue on with our preseason content. Mate, can you tell our viewers what they can expect from us in the lead up to our first live preview show on March the 4th?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a lot going on, don't we? That graphic there, I enjoyed putting that together last night and just asking AI to make a photo of us driving in a car with the Lions colours heading towards opening round. But yeah, heaps going on. So in this episode in particular, we'll be picking our top 10 Game Day squad players for 2026 in a bit of a draft format with Mark, the mighty Hoss from Game Day Society. So our viewers can sort of see who we rate highly heading into this 2026 season. Now, keep in mind as well, these are not sort of positional rankings as such. These positional rankings, we've included those in our textbook, which was actually released today, in fact.
Yeah, so speaking of that textbook, the content in there is just absolutely ridiculous for all viewers and listeners. Just to get everyone excited, the textbook contains a few of the following things. All 3 special comp previews, which includes a great insight to the most relevant under 22 players, full 18-team previews with tiered rankings of the fantasy relevant players and write-ups for MVPs, pods, fades, and young guns for all 18 teams. And don't forget a summary of all the player movement and positional changes from the off-season. There's also full positional matchup data, courtesy of JT from the Stats Lab. This data includes average points conceded by each position for each team, how many points above or below the league average they allow, and then, of course, a definitive ranking of each team's positional matchup. This is all color coordinated for ease of use, and we obviously can't forget our Fantasy Bros positional rankings, as we mentioned just before, where we rank our top 20 defenders, midfielders, and forwards, plus our top 10 rucks for the upcoming season. And then lastly, we also provide a full insight into the most relevant players of the 2025 draft class for that under 22 competition.
Yeah, what a stack of content in that textbook. Hey, like that's incredible. And I remember putting that together and that finished product we're super stoked with. And just particularly the positional matchup data that JT sent through there from the Stats Lab. Like that's just unbelievable. And I know you and I spoke about this earlier, that we're going to be looking very closely at that for the first few rounds in particular as we start to build our squads. And no doubt other coaches will find it of just as much value. And I love the rookies too. I love talking about that draft class as well, because there's so many stars in there that we need to be aware of as we're ripping packs and building that under 22 squad. And to get around this textbook that we're speaking about, just head to the Fantasy Bros website now and you can purchase this 2026 Aussie Rules textbook for $20 or bundle it with the NRL textbook for a discount. You can actually get both textbooks for $30. And if you make the purchase, the boys at Game Day Squad will also throw in a 3x9 player common pack. Three 9-player common packs. My bad. You get 3 of them, that's valued at $21 alone. So that's incredible value, and you'll be supporting Dill, Stu, Haz, and myself whilst equipping yourself with some unreal GDS content. Now, remember that we've also been running an exciting pack opening competition throughout the team preview series as well, where you guys, the viewers, can win some pretty special prizes. All you need to do is like and comment on our team preview episodes with who your MVP is, and you can go into the running to win some awesome cards. You can also go into that draw up to 6 times because we've got those 6 team preview episodes. And if you purchase the Fantasy Bros textbook we just spoke about, you will get an extra entry into this competition. Don't forget to like and subscribe across all of our socials to keep up to date via @FantasyBrosAU on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Apple Music, and Spotify.
Yeah, I think you dropped a bit of a spoiler into the Discord about some of those prizes that are up for grabs, and there's some pretty handy ones,
I
including a
did.
9-player All-Star rare pack to be handed out. So make sure you get into and enter that draw, because I'll be being drawn on the first live preview show on the 4th of March. And then lastly, next week, our final preseason episode, and this will be our under-22s team build with Janeth from Supercoach Swordplay. The three of us will sit down and decide on a consensus 23 for that exciting new under-22s competition in GameDay squad. And that's one I certainly cannot wait for. I've been loving building some additions of that team across the preseason. And if you are new to GameDay squad, you can sign up using the promo code FBAR26 in all capital letters to get 3 9-player common packs, plus receive a stack of bronze cards to help you get your free-to-play AFL starter squad up and running. Well, without further ado, mate, I think we're going to get stuck into our top 10 GDS player draft, and bring out the man that will be showing us the way, and that is the GameDay Society, Mark, the Hoss. Welcome to the FantasyBros, mate. How are you today?
Thanks for having me, boys. I'm excited. Obviously been watching all of your preseason content, which has been great. It's nice to be on the other side of that now, but I'll probably still go back and watch this episode just to have it all sink in. I'm going great. Can I just point out before we go too far, my favorite part about this image is how you two are holding hands in that car. It is just so symbolic of Fantasy Bros relationship. I love it.
I was wondering if anyone would pick up on that, and I don't know why the steering wheel's on my side and has his hand on that as well.
It's just, it's kind of like you both just sitting on each other's laps. It's perfect. It's real nice.
I didn't even notice that myself.
No. And yeah, I'm super pumped to be on this one because, again, I really need to be watching that under 22 one. So I'll be watching you guys and Janet very closely. So it's going to be good.
Yeah, perfect. So just for our viewers and listeners who may not be too familiar with the GameDay Society, mate, or yourself, which I'm pretty sure that's doubtful because everyone knows who you guys are, but just can you give us a bit of a rundown as to when GameDay Society began and what your upcoming season of Aussie Rules content will look like?
Yeah, so I had to actually check the Instagram when I first originally started up GameDay Society, and it was back in 2023.
Yeah,
which I think a lot of people don't even realize GameDay Squad was around in 2023, but I was involved in like the beta testing kind of startup of it. And then I've just been hooked since. So I was like, oh yeah, this is something I can kind of get around, make a bit of a, page to get some stuff out, and it's just kind of growing from there. But yeah, we're focusing a lot on the written content for AFL, which is something that's really exciting because there's so much you can do in that, and just so many things that we can cover. We've got a bit of a team going now with Zonald and Mel, who I'm sure most people also know over on the Discord. But yeah, covering AFL, we did the AFLW as well back when that was on, and Zonald and I also do a bit of a EPL or English football show for GameDay Squad. So heaps going on, but all those 3 brain cells I've got left at the moment are going straight into AFL stuff. So it's going to be good.
Yeah, there's a heap going on. Just to manage all that is crazy. Hey, and you said just a little bit of a football show, probably one of the biggest ones on our platform, I reckon. It's yeah, there's a heap going on there.
I can take probably 10% of the credit for that. I think most people are tuning in to watch Zonald, and look, that's the only reason I do the show, is just so I can watch Zonald and ask the questions that I need to
take his
answers to. So that guy is just
I
don't know what he's thinking, like 5 weeks ahead. It's crazy.
Insane.
Yeah. I love his insights when he goes into like that positional matchup, between one particular player and another, if they're playing on a certain side of the ground. Like that just all goes over my head. I just put him in my team.
And the thing is, it's all just in his noggin, because like it's just I don't tell him what I'm going to ask him. I don't even know what I'm going to ask him, and then all of a sudden he's just got the answer. I don't even know if it's true. He's probably just making stuff up, to be honest. But
yeah, Haz sort of does that on this pod. He just comes on just to pick my brain, and I give the ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Here we go.
Gather that, yeah. No.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah,
let's get into our top 10 picks as well. All right, we'll keep moving on with this episode, and we'll start picking your brain too, I reckon, because that's a bit of the reason why we got you on for this as well. We know that all the in the game day squad community is really important, and you give great insight. And so we wanted to sort of touch base with you and see what you were thinking heading into this 2026 season. I have no doubt that all of our views together could really help out some of the coaches in sort of making some of their decisions when it comes to their squads and putting them together. So the rules for tonight for our top 10 players, only 10 players will be picked between the three of us. These 10 players will be basically our top 10 GDS picks for season 2026. Now, in that top 10, this is probably the important one. We have to have 3 defenders, 3 mids, 1 ruck, and 3 forwards. So we can't just pick top 10 mids, for example. It's got to be a little bit more reflective of those team positions. And in our top 10, we'll take turns picking those players, by the way. So when it's your turn, you can pick from any position except for the ruck, which I'll touch on shortly. So, Hoss, you'll take the first pick if you would like as our guest. Haz, you get the second. I'll take the third. And then we'll go back to Hoss, and we'll just keep going through in that order until our 9 players are selected. And at that point, we'll come together and we'll come to a consensus decision on our number 1 ruck for 2026. Any questions with that, boys, before we get started?
Nah. I've been like racking my brain all day about this because 3's tough. Like
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I was going to say, surely we get to 10, and I reckon we're going to want to do more. So we'll see how we go.
We'll have to do like an honourable mention or something at the end to. Oh, we're actually building it this night.
Yeah, we're actually going to build the side. So for everyone out there, this is in my classic side, but we're not going to be worrying too much about salary here. We're just going to be obviously picking players just in case I don't have the bronze card. So we're just kind of filling the side based on the selections. Hopefully I'll have one of those cards available in the inventory, and then we're just picking that player in that spot there.
Nice.
Yeah. So, well, Hoss, you're kicking us off, mate. First pick, number 1 pick. Which way are you going first? Are you going to go for a defender, a mid, a forward, and then more importantly, who's it going to be?
Sorry, this is the one position I think I'm confident in as being the number 1 pick. They're probably not going to be the number 1 scorer, but I think Harry Sheezel is going to be so far ahead of the next forward that he is going to be the number 1 pick. He's just, how he's kept out of that midfield, for fantasy platforms is crazy, and got to milk it while we can.
Yeah, absolutely love that pick, mate. I probably would have gone there myself if I had the first pick. I think that position changed to forward status this year. That obviously Pitty and you and I talked about it in depth with the Kangaroos preview there, that it just makes him so relevant for coaches this year, and he is a must lock. Like, obviously we don't like using that term, but I think everyone is going to be trying to play him in as many competitions as possible. Obviously we've got 6 options now this year. I think you're going to need to have 6 Harry Sheezel cards to be competitive, especially in the forward line. So great pick for number 1, mate. I completely agree with you there.
On that too, I was thinking about this on the way to work. Do you reckon there'll be another season ever again where he is available as a forward?
No.
Nah, I don't think so. Like I doubt it, because I think North need to use him in the midfield, to actually get the most out of him. So it'll be stupid on North's end if he does manage to get it.
Yeah, and I think you go, Pitty. You go. No, you go.
I was just saying on that too. I completely agree. I don't ever see him being available as a forward again, just given his talent. He has to be running through the middle of the ground. I think if anything, maybe there's a day where he's available as a defender again, because we know that he's such a good ball user. They might like him down back, but I just think, he provides so much for them through the middle of the ground. I was thinking it's going to be the first and last season we have Harry Sheezel available as a forward in game day squad.
Is there any situation where you can see yourself not playing him? I can't, apart from the ball.
If teams, I think if teams, I don't think they will, but I think if some teams decide to tag Harry Sheezel, and they really try and quell his influence, and that's an if. That's an if, maybe, but I think that's unlikely, especially in the forward line. He'd probably still put out a good score anyway.
Well, that's what I was going to say is I think even if he gets tagged out of a game, what he might average, mid 90s or low hundreds, which is still going to be probably GDS relevant, pushing top 6, top 7 anyway. So I think he's probably going to be played nearly every week unless he's like looking like he's out of form or out of favour or he's playing deep forward and not getting a chance on the ball. Then that's maybe something that I might look at. But I think outside of that, I think he's going to be in my teams pretty much every single week. And I still can't believe he actually has forward status, to be honest. Like you kind of mentioned, Hoss, it's on North. But the fact they've put him in a position to have forward status is pretty shocking to me because it's pretty evident that he is their best midfielder. And if he's not their best midfielder, he's their best ball user off halfback, like you mentioned, Pitty. So, yeah, like we got to take it and run while we can and make the most of it because it's definitely not going to last more than this season, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, I saw it listed.
He only had 30.
You released it today.
Oh,
yeah. Kane Corns didn't have him in his top 50, which is an absolute joke. But anyway, that must have been
he came out last year, didn't he? And he actually had to go at Harry Sheezel, but he came out and said that it's all Sheezy ball. Like he doesn't get any of the hard stuff, and he has no impact with his disposal. Like he sort of said that last year, and I don't know. It's just a bit of clickbait, I think, that he likes to do.
Yeah, exactly. No,
all right, Haz, who you got?
All right. I think I'm probably going to go towards the defender line here, and I think I'm going to go with probably one of the most obvious picks of the season, and that is the new $2 million man, Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera. I just think he is an absolute star of the competition. He's going to be playing in the midfield this year. Obviously, he's available as a defender, which we just love that he's going to have the opportunity to rack up midfield touches. He's going to drift forward and kick goals and impact the scoreboard. So I think even though he's going to lose his kick-in numbers potentially this year because he's playing up the ground a little bit more, I think his upside is just too hard to ignore. And I think he's probably going to go from strength to strength and go, one better again this season and finishes that highest scoring defender again.
Yeah, he'll still take kick-ins.
He'll find a way everywhere.
Yeah, no, So he was last year. He took 94 kick-ins. Sinclair had 100. Yep, and Sinclair had 100. The next was Callum Wilkie with 21. I guarantee you, mark it down, Wanganeen-Milera will probably have the same amount of kick-ins playing pure midfield. Like he's just that sort of player. He'll run down, he'll take it. He doesn't care. I just think, he is such a walk-up slam dunk given his age and just his talent. Like you can see when he plays. I remember last year, I was really keen on him, just putting him on any fantasy team I had, whatever it was, especially in GameDay squad. And just when you see him, he'll take a kick, he'll run past, he'll get it back, he'll have another kick, push out into space and get a mark. He just loves getting the footy, doesn't he?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's almost like he's just gliding across the field the whole time. It's actually like I'm a Saints supporter. Like I've got the Tassie shirt on today, but like just watching him is just like it's mesmerizing at some points. He's just there, and then like with 100%. The new last disposal or last touch rules, I reckon he'll pick up a few extra kicks from that as well because he'll just be there. Like he'll just be there from nowhere and just take the kick.
That's a great shout.
I rate him. I mean, I think everyone rates him, but I think that's a great pick for 2.
Even if the other rules as well speed the game up too, and it does become that faster sort of style of play, I can see not just that particular rule, that last disposal benefiting him, but some of the others as well. So, where they're bringing the ball out quicker, for example, I think that teams might just get caught out a little bit. It won't be as easier for them to set up and reset and slow down the play and clog up the midfield, or clog up the corridor, sorry. I reckon it just might be a bit more free-flowing potentially. So guys like Naz, if they can just run around all day and find space and just have less opportunities for the other team to look around and go, okay, where is he? Someone get on him. Yeah, there's every chance these rules actually really benefit him.
Yeah, for sure. And the other one that will probably help him is the prior opportunity one, because these like in and under midfielders are going to have to offload the ball more than they were. They can't just take the tackle to ground anymore. So he'll be there. Again, it's crazy. But
yeah, so good. Have you got your Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera card sorted, mate?
I do. I've actually got his All-Star and his Diamond, so I'm set.
Ready to go.
Yep. The only thing down about him is he's not quite under 22, so
Yeah.
Let him off
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, I think coaches probably shouldn't blame him just for that point, just because he's not under 22. Just leave him out of your classic sides and challenger sides, and yeah, Fantasy Bros Sunday shirt him.
Yeah, well, Pitty,
For sure.
didn't you pull 2 of his All-Star cards, mate?
Yeah, not at the same time. Don't try and make it sound like you don't have some good cards there too.
I got to throw it
Yeah,
back your
send us
way at
screens.
some point.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with my Wanganeen Miller card. I'll be playing that in Classic. As one thing I learned, particularly in the women's Aussie Rules season, we played starter and contender, and I think we really got found out in Classic where we just sort of missed a few of those really, those players that could hit those high ceilings. So, yeah, I think in Aussie Rules, that's my plan this year. Is I just wanted to make sure that I had some of those big dogs in an all-star or just at least a high rarity card so I can, have a really good crack.
Yeah, and the thing is, there's virtually no risk with playing him because his lowest score last year was 92 for a defender. Like that's a lot of defenders' best scores. So that's like,
that's it, and he can do it so
ceiling's
quickly
there.
too.
Yeah, and like it only got like better and better. Like, half of his games since round 14 were above 150. Like that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it was that back half, wasn't it? That sort of coincided with his midfield time. Am I right?
Yeah, that's his CBA spike.
Partially.
Yeah, he kind of just got permission to do whatever he wanted, and then he just wanted to find the footy, and that's perfect.
Yeah, and a player like that, I think that's just what you do, and I think that's what the Saints will do with him. You'd probably be the one that could comment on that for us as that Saints supporter, but I don't see him playing anything different this year.
No, he's going like the whole system's going to be built around him, so that's perfect. Like we spend the money on him, we're not going to just sit him on the side or put him out on a wing.
Yeah.
We're going to get the ball to him. So that's there's zero downside to picking him.
So good. I love that shout. 2 very good picks. Let's hope I don't cock this one up. But it is hard. I'm going to go to the midfield line because there's just so many good players to pick from. And pretty hard to go past the number 1 averaging GDS player from last year. I'll take Baslenka, Bailey Smith. Pretty hard for me to find a reason not to rank him as number 1. I know that, in our pods, Haz, you said that Bont was someone you could see finishing this season as the highest scoring GDS player. I said that Errol Goulden, there's every world that I can see him finishing as the number 1 scoring player in 2026. But when I'm looking at who I'm putting at the top, I don't have any reason to not put Bailey Smith in there based off last season's performance, projections for this year, his age, the fact he's playing in Geelong, and they've just, they've been so consistent over the past, 10, 15 years. So, I just can't really go past Bailey Smith and what he presents as a midfield option this year.
Yeah,
I think that's perfect.
He looked really good in the Origin the other night as well. Looks like he's primed for another big season. He had by all reports, a really good preseason and is really fit. Obviously, we know him as one of the running brothers down there with Max Holmes, and he looks like he's going to take his running levels to another level this year. So definitely another great pick. I don't know if I see him averaging as well as last year. I think teams will probably look to maybe shut him down. Now that he's had that year in the system, he could potentially cop some tags now, knowing how damaging he can be. Obviously, it's a choice between Smith and Holmes really to shut down that Cats midfield. But we know Holmes can also push out to a wing. So Bailey Smith is probably the prime candidate to be shut down by an opposition tagger if they please, which obviously I don't think we've really seen him have to deal with that sort of pressure yet. So potentially his average will decrease across the season. Obviously, I don't think it's going to be by a whole lot. I think he's an absolute jet, like you said. But that's just the one flag that I do have for him leading into this season.
Yeah, I agree. Like he's an absolute gun. I do have some minor concerns, which is like I'm scraping the barrel here because he's clearly one of the best. But there were just a few times where he was just frustrating because he was like a late out or something like that. I just worry that like it's nothing to be concerned that it's a chronic thing, but it just in the back of my mind, I'm like, if I miss this call, am I then missing out on other spots? But again, I don't think that's worth not taking draft.
Yeah, I agree. I think sometimes his laid outs help him. I think having a bit of controversy around, the Baslenka that makes him play better. I think he likes when people boo him. I think he likes it when a Cam Rayner likes to knock his headband off in a grand final. Bit of media attention doesn't put him, any too far astray. But yeah, I think the interesting thing with him and Holmes as well is, what do teams do? Like, who do they look to shut down? My thing is, I think I actually like the fact that Max Holmes is there and can take a bit of that heat from Bailey Smith. Like, at least it gives opposition coaches a choice. Are you going to shut down Holmes or are you going to shut down Bailey Smith? Like which way do you want to go? And I probably have more confidence in Smith to put up a decent score for us in the midfield than I do Holmes. Like, I feel like Holmes has a bit more of a flaw if he is copping attention, whereas I feel like Bailey Smith can still find his way to a pretty decent score. I think there were times where that might have happened as well, and he just finished quite strong. So yeah, just sort of touching on that point there, sort of my additional thoughts there.
Yeah, I almost think that he's safer from the tag than Holmes would be, because fantasy game day squad aside, if you look at what they do with the ball, I think Holmes is actually a better user of the ball. So Smith racks up the touches, great for game day squad fantasy, but when he's actually using it, it's not as damaging, I don't think, as Holmes is when he's in and about. So if I was an opposition manager, I probably would be trying to take Holmes out of the game and just let Smith kind of run through, claim freeze, do whatever he wants. But I mean, obviously still shut him down, but Holmes would be the bigger target for me. So
he'd cop the run with.
Might still escape. Yeah,
I agree. Alrighty, Hoss, where are you going to go?
Oh God, I should have been thinking about this. I'm going to jump. I've made a list here. I'm that nervous and prepared, so I'm going to jump back into the back line here.
Yep.
New kid on the block in defense, Connor Rosie. I think. Look, there's midfielders who will average more than him, but I think Rosie going into defense for us is huge because he takes a midfield score back there. It's normally the other way around where they're pulling, midfield scores out of defense. So I think not a whole lot to worry about there. Really good fixtures to start with, plenty of upside.
Yeah, their run to start the season is pretty incredible as well. I remember saying that to Haz when we were previewing Port Adelaide, and we were talking particularly in context of Zach Butters in particular, and just the games they have to start the season. That's North Melbourne round 1. They then go Essendon round 2. They then go Eagles round 3, and then just to top it off, they then play Richmond in round 4. You can't draw up a better run. And if you actually, again, in our textbook, if you check out that positional matchup data from the Stats Lab, that is, it is incredible. And you'll be quickly putting not just potentially a Zach Butters, but a Connor Rosie into your side. And I agree 100% with that point. You're taking a midfield score and you're putting it in your back line. The other thing I like there as well is the fact that it makes my selection of Zach Butters a lot more. It makes it a lot more comfortable for me picking those two power players, and they're spread across two different lines. I would be probably still doing it if they were both available in the midfield, but I'd probably be thinking about it a little bit more than what I am having Rosie available as a defender.
Yeah, that's a great shout.
Definitely the green mile, that's for sure. In regards to those matchups, you're right. You can't start a season better than that. And I think Rosie, as well as Zach Butters, are going to be the highest averaging defenders and midfielders after 4 rounds with that start to the season, because there's probably not anyone in those 4 teams that can run with those 2 guys, because they are just superstars within that club. And no doubt they're just going to rack plenty of touches and have plenty of impact in those games. So Rosie's great shout. It looks like by all reports he's going to be playing off halfback once again this year, which I actually think is probably a little bit better for him from a GDS scoring perspective. I think he's going to be taking those kick-ins. He took 50 kick-ins in the back half of the season last year. They're going to be looking for him to be that main distributor in the back line. Obviously, they lost Dan Houston at the end of 2024, and Kane Farrell kind of really failed to live up to that expectation to be that main ball user, and Rosie got thrown back to be that person with those silky skills and be that elite distributor that they really crave. So I think that's the plan for him again this year. And I think Bergman's going to shift into the midfield to allow that to happen. And I'm really excited to see what the skipper can bring for Port Adelaide this year, as I'm sure Cal is as well. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, and they haven't brought anyone in to sort of take that role. Like you mentioned, Kane Farrell didn't quite, live up to what they were hoping he could sort of do in the wake of Dan Houston, but they didn't pick anyone else up in that trade period who would come in to play that role. So Connor Rosie could go back to the midfield. It looks like they are going to persist with that, as you said. And yeah, it's only positive where you've got talk of a Miles Bergman going through the midfield. It looks like that's where a lot of the changes for Port Adelaide will be sort of taking place. My only question is, with Josh Carr coming in, I'm not convinced. Well, again, this is me clutching at straws here, but I just have a gut feeling that, yeah, they're going to start pretty well, and there might come a time in the season where Rosie goes back through the midfield. It'll still be a great pick for us in our backlines, don't get me wrong. But just in terms of that really easy halfback role, I'm not sure it'll be the entire season. There may be a patch or a time that comes where they need to throw him through the midfield, and so what he is doing for Port Adelaide changes a bit. We keep our eye on it, but I still think he'd be a gun in the back line regardless of what he's doing.
Yeah, no, I think that's great shout.
All right, well, with my fifth pick, I think I'm going to go back to the midfield, and I think I'm going to go the player that you kind of mentioned before there, Pitty, as a person I think is going to be the highest scoring player this season, and that is so Marcus Bontempelli. I just think he's an absolute jet of AFL. I still can't believe he hasn't won a Brownlow medal. He's been in and thereabouts pretty much his whole career, and he just finds different ways to improve and continue improving his scoring year on year, and it just never seems to drop off regardless of what his role is. We know that Bevo can throw some spinners in the works, and sometimes he can go to deep forward, but even then he still finds ways to, take marks, kick goals, and really impact the score. So I find it hard to see him going under 120 points for an average this season, and I only see upside on that. Obviously, he just, racks up across all lines. He takes marks, he does tackles, and he impacts the scoreboard, as I mentioned. So, yeah, the Western Bulldogs captain is one that I'm definitely really big on again this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with that. I'm just looking, though, with three players, who's missing out on this team? Because that's why I've not gone the midfield, because I don't want to be the one responsible for leaving these players out. So, but yeah, he's such a quality player, and every year I just forget he's not as old as I think he is. I think he's on the verge of retirement every time I see him, but then that's just because he's been quality for so long that it feels like he's older than he is. So in a legacy format, he's still not even a bad shout to kind of invest in now.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
You go, Pitty.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if in terms of his age, he's one that always does sort of surprise me as well. And I think he's just one you can be so confident in what he's going to do every single season. And in the Origin, I don't know if I didn't catch a lot. I watched a tiny bit at the start, I think it was, but had a shave as well, a haircut. He looks even younger. I think that only bodes well for this year. And I hope he's on a bit of a mission to chase another premiership and hopefully a Brownlow too, because I think that would bode well for his GDS scoring.
Yeah, without a doubt. All right, Pitty, who's your second pick?
Oh, sorry, just on Bont, still. Just looking at his numbers, we talk about Nasser's run home, but Bont was, I would say, even better, but probably snuck under. So in his last 8 games, he went 151, 186, 125, 168. Then there was a dodgy 91 in there, but then 139, 146, 165. They're all
that's crazy,
massive. Yeah. So
he does it in so many ways, doesn't he?
I think it took him some time to get going throughout the season. Obviously, he had that injury, a bit of a disrupted start to the season, but like you mentioned there, those back end of the season, he was unreal and really came home with a late surge. So if he can put together another full preseason, injury interrupted, then lock him in.
I feel like he's also one where you're looking at that positional matchup data but I feel like Bont almost plays better when he's in the tough games, and the matchup difficulty almost doesn't really matter for him, just because he's so important to what the Bulldogs do and the way he can build his scoring through lots of different avenues. Like if he's not quite getting the disposals, which he doesn't need a lot of, to be honest, he can throw himself around the contest, which he is anyway, and he can tackle, he can build his score that way, he can hit the scoreboard, he can push forward. So yeah, he's one that you can pretty confident with most weeks, if not every week.
Yeah, completely agree.
Now, I know you said you weren't going to go midfield. Actually, no, you know what? I'll go forward. I was going to take a midfielder, but I'm going to leave one there for you guys. You guys can leave a midfielder out. I'm going to go to the forward line because it's looking a bit lonely down there for Harry Sheasel. We'll give him a mate. And I'm actually going to take someone who, if you jump into the stats centre and you have a look, you sort by average, he's not going to pop up for a while. Okay. So I'm going to go for Sam Flanders from the Saints. Were you typing that in, Haz, before I even said it?
Mate, preempted.
Yeah, I think Flanders is going to be a walk-up pick again, probably every week, just with that role change. Well, obviously, he's changed to the Saints as well. He's come over from the Gold Coast Suns in pursuit of some more midfield time, and I think that's the role that he's going to get. And again, Hoss, you're one that might be able to speak to that as well. If you probably got a bit more of your finger on the pulse in terms of the Saints and what their preseason is like. But from my understanding is that that's the role he's going to be playing there. Obviously, they had Jack Steele who left, so there is a spot there for him in the midfield with a chunk of CBAs. And I think if he gets that license to really just play his natural game in the midfield, he could be a fantastic shout for our forward line. And I think if anyone can challenge Harry Sheasel in the forward line for that overall average at the end of the season, I think it's Sam Flanders. I don't think any player will go near Sheasel, but Flanders could be the one that will get closest.
Yeah, no, great shout. I think Saints brought him in to play midfield. He says he wants to play midfield. He's been playing midfield in all the trainings, preseason stuff. He's going to play midfield. He can win the ball. We've seen that he can rack up touches. Everything's lining up to be a big season. Mm-hmm. So make sure you do start him, because again, when you're kind of filtering your lineups and you're just like, oh yeah, who's playing first round? You go down the list and you're like, oh yeah, I want him. You fill up your squad before you get to him. So it's going to be missed by a few.
For other coaches too, who may not be across all of the content, for example, and that's how they do build their squads. You might be able to get a leg up potentially on a few of them. I feel like Flanders will be played by majority, but there might be a few people who, as you said, will just sort of filter by average, and they might miss him for that first week until he pops a big score and comes back to the top for us.
Yeah, well, obviously he was injured, I think, most of last season. Obviously, he still played the 20-odd games, but I just feel like he was never 100%. He was out of favour with that role. He was shuffled all over the field. And I think that average of 78.3 doesn't show, obviously, that player that we know he can be from that 2024 season where he averaged, was over 120 points. So let's hope that, obviously, that average, like you said, is pushing up over 110 and challenging Sheasel for that top spot in the forward line, because, I think he's going to be a great shout. The Saints gave up 2 first-round picks to get him, which shows just how highly they do rate him and how much they probably do want the ball in his hands and how much they're going to rely on him now that, that spot's opened up through Jack Steele's departure. But that score on board that on the screen there, you can see of 25. I don't think he's going to have a floor like that this season. I think that is definitely last season's in the past, and don't worry about if we're picking on last scores or averages, because he's only got upside from that.
About 25 kicks a game this year or something like that.
Yeah, something ridiculous.
It'll be crazy. So
what about great chat? What about with Sam Flanders coming in? This is something that I was interested in. Where do you see Jack McRae fitting in to that midfield mix at St Kilda? Because I find it hard to get a read on what Ross the boss likes to do in that midfield. When he's not performing any other 8 roles he's got around the club. And I'm not sure where Jack McRae sort of fits into that midfield. I think he'll be there, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's sort of in and out here and there.
Yeah, I think if GameDay squad had a VFL comp, he'd probably be pretty valuable next year. But I'm with you. I don't really see like he'll be either be out on a wing or like half forward somewhere, but he's not going to be as prolific, and he loses
Kind of
his
what happened at the
forward
Bulldogs.
status this year. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Forward
As a
status.
midfielder, he's virtually
You can't go near him.
unplayable.
Yeah.
Yeah, like maybe on a showdown. Well, I mean, the first showdown or whichever one it is. Yeah, it's basically just Saints and someone else. So he may get a game out of necessity, but it's grim.
Nah, good insight there. Who's got the pick? That's back to you, Hoss.
Oh, it's back to me. All right, I'll do it. I'll take a midfielder. And like, there's one midfielder we can't leave him out. Nick Dacos, he's got to be in the side.
Oh, really? I was going to.
You've got to leave him out.
Yeah, no, I was going to do it. I don't care. I'm a
just for the
Lions supporter.
clickbait.
Yeah, call me Cornsey.
Yeah. No, I think we saw how prolific he was in that Origin game. Like, it wasn't a real game, obviously, but what was it, like 170 or something?
Yeah.
I think he will do massive things this year, because I think the support around him will be better, which means that he won't be as reliant on doing everything. So he can do the things that he's really good at, which is, the things that are profitable for us. And then, like his brother, that, a bunch of people will be coming through that midfield now to kind of just unleash him. So I'm excited.
Yeah. Josh Dacos as well, alluding there to going through the midfield. I know we've spoken about this a few times, Harry, just the benefit that might actually have to his brother. But I think I'm hoping that Jordan De Goey can have a good season as well, and he can bounce back and go through a bit, because I think if he can get a bit of midfield time too, knowing the player that he is, I think that could also sort of help out Nick as well. Like, they just might be able to throw a few different looks at the opposition that might get them questioning whether we go after Nick with everything, or if we actually try and go, okay, we've got to watch out for Josh, but we've also got to watch out for De Goey because he's in good form. And I could just see him absolutely tearing up, like you said.
Yeah. You just need that player in there that can just go in head first and win the ball, so then Nick doesn't have to. And then scrum it out to him and then just on his way. So,
and
he'll just run all day. I think has been training in the middle, and he's looking good from all reports. So he's listed as a forward in GameDay squad. So that could be very interesting.
Yes. Dacos, obviously, as you mentioned, Hoss, he had that massive ceiling score in the Origin, and we know that he's capable of that. But then obviously we know that one flag that can be out there is that he can be susceptible to a tag at some points. And obviously, you guys are talking about having different looks in that midfield, but oppositions know that it's Dacos or broke, and I'm talking about Nick here, obviously, for that team, because he is just a superstar of the competition. He is, I reckon, probably one of the best players, if not the best player in the competition. And opposition is just going to try and find every way they can to shut him down, because his run and carry, his burst from the stoppage, his skills, obviously he can run forward, he can run back, he helps out in so many different ways for that team. They've got to try and look to shut him down some way. But no doubt, once again, he's going to be great, and probably, a top 5 midfielder once again this year.
Yeah, he's so hard to shut down, isn't he? Like, I know when Brisbane play him, Brisbane are actually a really tough matchup for opposition midfielders, but Nick Dacos, I reckon every time he plays the Lions, he puts up a monster score on us, because we've just got no one that can run with him, and he's such a difficult matchup for the opposition, even though there have been players in the past that have gone to him and done a relatively decent job. They have to be almost going, I'm not here for the football today. I'm just going to hang off this bloke as best I can. Because he's just so quick. And I reckon, what year does that, when does that sort of stop? When does he start putting up a really decent score, even when players are trying to shut him out? I think this year could be the year we see that happen.
Yeah, his running power is obviously unquestionable. We talked about Bailey Smith and Max Holmes before, but I think Dacos, his burst from the stoppage, and, he's so smart with when he does it. He can really burst when needed, and I feel like he's probably one of the best runners in the competition, if not the best, because he just does it at the right time. He knows when to get the handball. He knows when to run past. He'll just hover around the back of that contest and wait for the right opportunity, because he always wants the ball in his hands, and obviously Collingwood do too. So nah, great shout, great pick, and I'm glad someone did it because I probably wouldn't have picked him just purely for the fact that he plays for Collingwood. But no, great pick, Hoss.
He has to be there.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, who you got, Haz?
All right, I've done a defender, I've done a midfielder, so I'll finish with a forward. I'm gonna go with Mr. Consistent. I'm gonna go with Brian Myers. I just love the way he plays. I feel like obviously he doesn't get CBA access a whole lot, but he rolls up to the stoppage as a +1. He'll get his 20 touches a game. He'll have tackles. He'll have marks. He'll kick some goals every now and again. But more importantly for Geelong, like I know it's not really a GDS scoring criteria, but his goal assists, they just love the way he sets up play for them. And that just means that they're going to be looking for him to get the ball inside 50. Even though he's got that quirky kicking action, it's just always so effective. So I think he's a great shout again this year. He's the highest second highest averaging forward last season. Well, that's available this season, that is. So I think he's going to be another great pick again this year.
Yeah, great shout. It was down to him and one other who I think I'm sure we'll talk about at the end. But like just his ball use, even though, like you said, it's not going to get us any more in. Oh, sorry.
You're right.
Yeah, I've just got a doggy down here who's wanting to chirp in on this pick. But his ball use, it just means that they want to get it in his hands, which is a win. So that's basically why you want him.
Your dog can hear that we're talking about a cat, mate. And the thing I like about Brian Myers, you talk about them sort of liking the way he uses the ball. We actually spoke in that Geelong episode that he saw some CBAs towards the back end of last season. So from round 19 through to round 22 in particular, like they were quite high. So he had 42%, 50%, 61%, 45%. And that sort of continued to the end of the season as well. They weren't as high, and particularly in the final series, it did sort of drop off a bit. But yeah, to finish the season, he was in their CBAs. They had him around the ball at times. And if he's playing forward, he'll roll up to the stoppages anyway to try and lose his opponent and then get involved in all the transition play up around the ground. So I think he's one of the safest forwards you could be picking this season.
He always finds a way to end up in the back line. Like I always kind of look up and see him, trying to get some kicks all around the halfback flank or even in the back pocket. So he just sees a half forward that works up and down the ground all day long. And sometimes, yes, he doesn't get used, but he's just, like you said, he's safe. He doesn't have a low floor. He's consistent. He might not have that super upside that some coaches might be chasing, but you can just lock in 100 points every week with Brian Myers, and he just provides that little bit of security for coaches.
Especially in a volatile position at times down there.
Oh, 100%.
Alrighty.
Sure.
Defender time. Last pick. I think has to be Whitfield, right? Like, we're not going to overthink this one, I don't think. There's still some good shouts, like Zorko's obviously a name we could have put in there, Jack Sinclair, Lockie Ash. I think there's still some very good picks after that, but I think it does sort of drop off a little bit. Like your next best defender after Lockie Ash is a Bailey Dale based on average, but we know he can hit a huge ceiling or put up a bit of a poor score. So I think out of those, I think Whitfield's probably the one I think would sort of fit in this top 10 nicely. He's been so consistent every single season. I know last year there were a couple of times where they actually had him up around playing that half forward role for some weird reason, and then they threw him back behind the footy and his score just continued to go through the roof. He's just someone that is going to be bringing the ball out of the Giants' backline. He'll be taking kick-ins. I think all those rules we spoke about with Naz in terms of that last disposal rule and a few of those other rules that will speed up that gameplay. I think Whitfield is one that will benefit from that immensely as well, in a similar vein that Wanganeen Miller will. So I think Whitfield is just another walk-up pick this year.
Yeah, look, I'm not as hot on him, but I think I want to see first, because GWS, I think they need to be a lot more direct if they want to be contenders this year. So there's a lot of like chipping around between him and Ash, which is great for fantasy. I just worry that that's going to get kicked out of the game because it's not getting results.
Yeah, Pitty. We've talked about that at depth for, I reckon, probably nearly a year and a half now, and we keep saying that something needs to change because it just keeps happening. And obviously, they keep getting to finals, but they can't, or they don't have that game plan that takes them to that next level. And you're right, Hoss, something does need to change. I feel like they talk about this orange tsunami, but then sometimes it's very slow play between those boys that we talked about, Whitfield and Ash. So yeah, if anything does look to change this season, he could be the one that takes a bit of a hit. Obviously, we did see him get shifted into the half-forward line throughout the season last year, which wasn't an ideal role, and he even kind of shuffled to that wing as well. So that could potentially be something that is in the plans for the future. I don't know. But I think Lockie Ash obviously provides run and carry and line-breaking ability where Whitfield probably doesn't have that run and carry as much as what Ash does. So if anyone's potentially looking to move, and I'm not saying that Whitfield will, we did see it as an experimentation last year, and I don't see it happening again, but I do see that ball movement potentially changing. But I still think he's going to be in the top 6 defenders again this year.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I think he'll be great. I'll probably start him. It's just like I feel like there's going to be a point in this season where we're probably going to have to drop one of Ash or Whitfield.
Yeah.
So I think getting that right is going to be more important than actually playing him every week. So great call still.
Yeah, and I think it's based off what we've seen and what we know from Whitfield as well, and I think that's why he's picked back there in this top 10 rankings. But I completely agree. We spoke about that on the Giants episode, and I think last year there were multiple times where we spoke about it has just the fact that it just wasn't. They weren't moving the footy forward enough. But I don't know. I'm interested now with that conversation in mind, what the changes in Giants midfield, like what that's going to bring in itself, because they've lost Tom Green, and obviously Finn Callaghan now is potentially in doubt of opening round. So there's going to be a fair few changes in the Giants midfield as is. So how's that going to impact it? Will they look to make a change early? Is it going to impact a Whitfield or an Ash? I just think the Giants will be a very interesting watch in these first couple of weeks.
Yeah, for sure. Nice.
All right, Pitty, so what's the go with the rucks? You want to run us through this?
We need to decide on one. That is as simple as it is. So we can have a go at saying the same name on 3 if you want, or someone can just bring in.
Well, I guess we can start off by talking about what qualities we think are going to be good in rucks this year, because obviously there's been a lot thrown around with the ruck changes.
The new rules.
Everyone's making their assumptions, which might be right, but like it could just be all a bit of fluff and it would just be the same. I think I'm a big fan of a ruck who's going to be able to do other stuff. Like we can't rely on the rucks that are just winning rucks anymore. For that, I mean, probably the safest pick I think would be Tim English, but I don't know what you guys are thinking.
That's who I would have picked.
Yeah, I think we're on the same sort of wavelength. Let's put Timmy English in, because I was going to go him as well. I think Haz, I know you're keen on him too. And I agree. I think the work that English can do in transition is one of the best in the league. I think Gawn also still comes out okay as well. So I still like the big fella this season, Maxi Gawn as well. But I think English is probably the one I feel most safe with, particularly in these first coming rounds where we're really going to be watching and learning a lot about these rules. And I agree, Hoss. I think that there's every chance these rules are sort of, as Clokey would say, a bit of smoke and shadows behind the mirror. And it doesn't actually change the game a whole lot. But then if we're not quite sure how it's going to go, I think, well, why not pick a Tim English who, if it is going to impact rucks, he'll still put up a really good score. And
if it doesn't impact rucks, he's still going to put up a good score. So, it's
exactly right.
It's a safety net while we know what's going on.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think some people are reading too much into the scoring out of the State of Origin game. Obviously, we've got to remember there was 5 rucks that played that game and they had 50% time on ground, and everyone's like, oh, the ruck spot's dead. I definitely don't think that's the case whatsoever. I do think that some of these rucks are still going to be very relevant. And I think Tim English is definitely going to be a very popular pick across all coaches in all competitions, and alongside Max Gawn and probably even Darcy Cameron, who was one that actually surprised me a little bit in that origin from his limited time on ground, finishing as the highest scoring ruck in that game. They're probably ones that are, like you mentioned, not just relying on just hit outs. Obviously, Max Gawn averaged 20 touches last year. Tim English probably averaged similar. So they're probably the ones that I'm going to be leaning towards straight away until we get that clarification on what that role looks like or what the new rules are going to be.
Yeah, there's another name that I'll throw out, which I'm not sure if he'll be scoring high enough to be competing, but Luke Jackson is a ruck now in GameDay squad. A lot of people say that's a negative because he loses his forward status, but if he's playing midfield minutes rather than ruck, like everyone's saying, then it kind of just bypasses all of the concern with what the rucks will be doing. And we know what he can do. So he could be a decent option. Yeah, what do you think?
I think for Luke Jackson, obviously, I think the biggest thing for me is I see him as maybe their 4th best midfielder, obviously behind Sarong, Brayshaw and Hayden Young when fit. So he's going to be a role player once again. I don't see him being in the midfield 100% of the time, obviously. I think he's going to be spending a bit of time forward, spending a bit of time on the ball, and then probably even pinch hitting in the ruck at times if, Darcy or Mason Cox can't get to the contest if they're in the game. So it's going to be a watch and wait for me, but I definitely agree. If he's in that midfield more often than not, then he has an upside just like anyone else, then he's definitely a great shout.
Yeah, I think he was actually, I was going to ask you about him just before as well, Hoss. I was just going to get your insights because I know, we've been talking about Luke Jackson all preseason and what we think. And I'm, I was probably in the boat of that first group of people that probably I don't like the fact he's not available as a forward now, but I don't think you can just sort of say that. I think we've got to look at what his role is, just like Has spoke about the fact he is sort of playing midfield. And the thing that scares me with Jackson is that he's so versatile that I think he could play a bit of midfield, he could go a bit forward, he might do a bit of pinch hitting in the ruck. And I'm not sure it's going to give us like a really big ceiling that we like from our rucks. But then in saying that, you're right, he could actually be quite a good play in these first few weeks as we start to navigate how these rules impact rucks. Like you might just play him knowing you should get still a decent score, but I'm probably not expecting a huge score just because he doesn't have a really clear role in the team as of yet. I think if Sean Darcy is out, and I think if Mason Cox, if something happens to him, or if just that number 1 ruck role changes and it goes to Luke Jackson, I'll be all over him and I'll be locking him in immediately because that's where his big scoring came last year, particularly against the Bombers, where he had that number 1 ruck role over there. He put up a massive score just playing ruck and pushing forward. So that's my one thing with him is I don't like the role because he is so versatile and he can get thrown around. But if he has the number 1 ruck role, I'm very, very keen.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah, love that.
Now, also another question too I was about to ask you as well. I had to write it down somewhere so I remembered. We've been talking about the new competitions before we move on and we open a bit of a pack together. I'm just keen to get your insights, mate, on what you're playing this year and what your plans are, because the addition of these new special competitions are just making it really hard to fill out a team. And you've been playing a bit longer than we have for Haz and I, but I'm not quite sure how or which competitions I'm going to be prioritising and how I'm filling out a squad in each. Like, what are your plans for this year?
So I'll be playing everything. So yeah, like you said, I've been playing since 2022 and I've got prize cards every year, which is pretty proud of, but it means that I've also been just accumulating weekly prize packs and I have a decent depth in my squad. So I think I can play every round. What I'm really excited about is the under 22s, just because I have a Harley Reid prize card, which I think is going to be amazing this year. I got a bit of flack. It was a couple of years ago I picked him, so I went a year too early, but he's in the club. Happy to have him there. And then sitting alongside my Sheasel All-Star card, it's like you need the Sheasel All-Star if you want to be like, I mean, like you don't need it, but he's going to be the best under 22 player, so you want to be stacking him as much as possible. And yeah, there's that. And then this Sunday comp is going to be great because you got a bunch in there. The early comp's also great because it's the first thing you're thinking about. Like I'm just excited for everything.
Yeah, I think that Sunday showdown one, that one really excites me as well. Probably as I've started to build my squads, I was obviously really excited for under 22s as well, like you said. And I think there's a lot of coaches that are in the same mindset. They're really pumped for that under 22s comp. But the Fantasy Bros Sunday showdown, I was looking at putting a squad together, and it's actually quite challenging because you can only play one diamond, and the salary, you're having to play a lot of silvers and some golds. So it's really going to challenge coaches, I think, to firstly nail the players, but secondly nail their salary. So I think that's a really exciting competition.
Yeah, I agree. I think that side of it's really good. Like we have access to everyone, so we can pick the best players, but then you got to be taking risks. You got to be making calls that you wouldn't be normally doing. You got to be playing players that have never made it onto your field before. Like it's really good.
Yeah.
Just hoping they make a veterans comp next year so we can keep playing Zorko and Pendles and those kind of guys. I think that'd be awesome.
That'd be good over 30s comp.
Yeah.
Or like you said, a VFL comp for Jack McRae.
Yeah, true.
Imagine that. Imagine a VFL comp.
That would be sick. But,
all right, well, there's our 10. Are we happy with that, boys?
I am pretty happy with that.
I'm happy with
It's
it
like a good 10.
in a sense. There are players I had on my list which didn't make it, though. In fact.
Who you got? Because there's always going to be heaps.
I've got 3 here. 1 from each line, actually. Forward line, I went track. I think would have probably been the next one. Just,
I thought Haz was going to go track.
It was a flip of a coin. It was between track and Myers, but I just went with the consistency. I think track does have upside though this year. New club, fresh start, and I do love him. And I think it was very a hard decision to split those two, so it could easily be track instead of Myers there.
His cooking skills didn't sway you.
And like if I went track at 3, Myers would have been 4. So it's still, they're both going to be walk-up starters for our sides. In the midfield, I had someone who you guys have been talking about already, Goulden. I actually had him at number 2. So not even at 3, which is, I just think he's in for a big one again. Last year wasn't enough info to kind of read what he's doing, but I think he's just, when he's on, he'll get 40 kicks and he'll just absolutely dominate. So
another one who these rules could benefit.
Exactly right. And the last defender I had.
Sorry, Hoss, before you move on, in that midfield line, I had somebody else in there that I was really keen to pick. And when I changed and I went to go take Flanders, I was actually going to pick this player to leave Nick Dacos out. It was actually Jordan Dawson. He was the other one that I would have in my top 3 personally. But again, there's so much of this is, everyone's going to have their own little view on who they would be. And I think that's the benefit of doing this episode, is because we actually get to see as a team, when we put our heads together, who comes out as our top 10.
Yeah, for sure. And
I think that's pretty much a clear top 5 in that midfield, though. I think, those 3 that we've got on the screen already, and Goulden and Dawson, I think they round out the top 5 at the end of the season in that midfield line.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And who was that defender one, Hoss?
I'm big on Sinclair. I think just for the consistency of him, like he's gone 120 to 122 in the last 5 seasons average, like that smaller gap in his average. Like he's just, he's not exciting, but that's good. Like he's just a set and forget. You put him in the back line, he does well.
Yeah.
Like that's what you want.
Co-captain now as well, but extra responsibility, so maybe his scoring does go up a little bit.
Yeah, just need that
Wang,
strong mullet to come back.
Yeah, just that luscious mullet floating around. But
and need Wang to give him some more kick-ins.
Yeah, well, at least he's not in the back line with him. it'll be
Yeah.
Sinclair kicking it to Wang. And then, hopefully they share the kick-ins around. I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah. As long as they kick it to each other, that's fine.
Yeah, exactly right. Get the points both sides.
Whitfield and Ash 2.0.
Yep.
Alrighty. How's we going to rip our pack, mate?
Yeah, we can do. While I bring it up, do we want to decide who gets what row? So we get a row each.
Yeah.
Hoss, I'll let you pick.
Yeah,
You're the guest.
You think about that, Hoss, and I'm just going to quickly remind as well our new users who are still looking to sign up. When registering, use the promo code FBAR26. That's for 3 9-player common packs. And head to the Fantasy Bros now as well. Purchase that Aussie Rules Rugby League textbook for $30. Purchasing that textbook will get you an extra entry into our preseason giveaway. And that textbook, again, that covers absolutely everything you can think of and more, as we discussed earlier. So get in, use that code, and get around it.
Yeah. I've been thinking about this, like, surprisingly hard, which row I want. I normally, when we do the footy show, English football show, I normally take the bottom row. So I think I'll stick with that, if that's okay with you guys.
Perfect. Of course it is. So we're rolling through that one. So we got Ryan Engwin, Jai Miss, and a Jacob Constanti, all golds.
I also probably should have mentioned that I always draw trash in those episodes, so maybe I should have done that.
All right, Pitty, what row would you like, mate?
Well, I'll follow along the same vein, that football pod. I'll go Zonald's theory of the middle row, please.
We've got a Gray.
Hasn't started well so far.
Harry Dean. And Alex Neil-Bullen. Oh, this is
So not great either. We've left the top row. Will be the best one.
All right, let's hope so. Let's hope for something good. Tom Brown. Lawson Humphrey, sorry. And finally, Lockie Cowan.
Lockie Cowan's the one. He could actually go in your under 22s team. He's actually one of the better scoring defenders for your under 22s. So he's
just
not
around zero.
Well, Humphreys is also, again, he's not under 22, but he's also a defender who I like this year as a sneaky pod. And if you have a bit of salary on him, maybe looking at him in your primetime comp.
Yeah.
But the rest, I don't have a case for.
Like, Amos could be all right in like one of the showdown games or something if the fixture's right. Like, there's definitely. I mean, actually, I was going to say there's definitely other options, but that's probably about as far as I'd go.
I think Neil Bullen's probably another one in that forward line with forward status on the prime time or even Sunday showdowns for Adelaide could be a good shout, especially in the forward line. Obviously, we know how volatile that can be. So he averaged, I think, 90 points last year. So that's a great shout.
Yeah. Very nice.
All right.
I might share my screen as well, Haz. Get that back up for us.
You take over, mate.
Yeah. Now, just a heads up to all our viewers as well, before we say thanks to Hoss for joining us on this episode. Whoops, sorry, I unshared that. Let me get that back up there for us. Just before we do that, just a reminder that our under 22 squad build with Janath from Super Swordplay. And this will drop next Wednesday for our listeners and viewers. So make sure that you're following us on the Fantasy Bros YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify pages. And don't forget to like and subscribe across all of our socials to keep up to date via @FantasyBros AU on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Apple Music, and Spotify. Haz, it's been a pleasure. And Hoss, thanks so much for coming on, mate. We've really appreciated your time. Do you want to remind everyone where they can find you over the socials if you've got that available?
Yeah. So, God, where can you find me? It's
in the Discord.
GameDay Society. On the Discord. It's probably the main spot. Just slide into the DMs. I'm always answering questions. GameDay Society on Instagram. The GD Society, unfortunately, on X. And GameDaySociety.com is the website where we're hosting all our blogs. So plenty of places to find us, but yeah.
Yeah, and get into your content as well. Like, I know those articles, the written content you guys have been putting out, like Mel's articles as well. Been absolutely loving those when they've come out too. So I think this is just a case of like we're all stronger together with all the content we put out, and we all love what we do. So yeah, just make sure you get around everyone.
100%, yeah, and that's a big part of what the society was made for, was just to kind of host other people's work if they want to. Like, I remember back in the day, it was, I think, the first World Cup that GameDay squad did. Fantasy Bros actually posted some blogs on my website, which I was pretty chuffed about.
Oh, cool.
Sick. So yeah, like, yeah, we go way back, Fantasy Bros and GameDay Society. We're best of buds. So yeah, it's just, you know, you don't get this kind of community in other places, so it's really nice to kind of just prop each other up, and you know, boys like Janeth and that coming in and just getting around us is always really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And Haz, thank you, mate, for a good episode.
No, thanks again, mate. Thanks again, Hoss. Really appreciate it, mate. And once again, doing some awesome work over there at GameDay Society, and it's great to see and obviously pick your mind as well and see where you're kind of sitting for this season. And you know, hopefully you can secure another prize card and keep that streak going for you.
Yeah, hopefully.
And obviously, Pitty, hopefully we can secure our first ones this year. And yeah, can't wait for the season to get started. So excited.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
All righty. Thank you, boys. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.
Cheers.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode by the Fantasy Bros. If you want to show your support, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this show on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. Also, make sure you check us out on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Just search @FantasyBros AU.